Madhavacharya was born in a small village near Udupi in the state of Karnataka in South India in the 13th century. He was an ardent devotee of Lord Vishnu. He had great intellect and memory. He is believed to be the third avatar of Lord Vayu. The first avatar of Lord Vayu was Sri Hanuman, the second was Bhim, and Sri Madhvacharya is said to be the third avatar of Lord Vayu. He was so much interested in the devotional philosophy than other philosophies. He was sent to a Dvaita philosophy guru, Sri Prajna, and he could not accept the interpretation given by his guru based on the Advaita philosophy on the Upanishads. So he left his guru and he individually studied all the Vedas, Puranas, epics, Upanishads and everything, and he was a scholar in Sanskrit grammar. He took sannyasa at a very young age itself, at the very young age of 16, and he became a monk. After studying all these philosophies individually, he formulated his own philosophy, and his philosophy had many tattvas in it, and so he called his philosophy as Tattvavada Darshana or Tattvavada philosophy. Later it came to be known as Dvaita philosophy. He interpreted the Prasthanatraya based on his Dvaita philosophy, and he lectured about his interpretation, his philosophy all over India, and thus he won many scholars as his disciple. It is said that even his guru Acharya Prajna, who was a Advaita philosophy guru, later became the disciple of Sri Madhvacharya. He had a great intellect and memory that no one can easily win over his arguments. That was his intellectual power. The main feature of Dvaita philosophy is there are fundamental differences between the Jiva, the Lord and the Jagat. It was Sri Madhavacharya who established the Sri Udupi Sri Krishna temple. He brought the main Vigraha, that is the statue of Lord Krishna, from Dwaraka in Gujarat. He established the Ashtamadas in Udupi, and which is famous even now. The Ashtamadas of Udupi are famous even now. The concept of God according to Dvaita philosophy is God is the supreme being and everything is dependent on the Lord. Lord Vishnu is that supreme being, and Lord Vishnu is the Brahman of Vedanta. The concept of Atma and liberation according to Dvaita philosophy is bondage is real. This world is real. Atmas are infinite atomic in size, but they are spread throughout the body. There are two types of realities. One is the Swatantra Tattva, that is the independent reality, and only Lord Vishnu is that independent reality. The other is the Aswatantra Tattva, that is the dependent reality. All the jivas and the other objects in this world, the jada, that is the world, is dependent on Lord Vishnu. So the relationship between Lord Vishnu and the jivas are just like the master-servant relationship. He explains this relationship, Sri Madhvacharya explains this relationship as just like a bimba and pradibimba. Bimba is the object and pradibimba is the reflection of the object on the mirror. The pradibimba is always dependent on the bimba, but the pradibimbas are different from one another. Just like if you see the reflection of the object on the mirror, one reflection is different from the other. So just like that, Each and every jiva is dependent on the Lord, but they are independent. It is Lord Vishnu that predestines life for the jivas. All the jivas are the agent of the Lord. So the destiny of the jivas are predestined by Lord Vishnu. Each and every jiva is closely related to the Lord, but they are not same, they are not identical. There is fundamental difference between the Lord and the jivas. There are three types of jivas. That is, the first one is the mukti yogya jivas. They are fit to be liberated. The second is the nitya sansara jiva. They just revolve around their birth and rebirth and they never get liberated. And the third is the tamo yogya jivas. They just live in eternal hell. They too, they are not liberated. So the jivas that are mukti yogya, they surrender to Lord, and by the grace of the Lord, they are liberated. Avidya conceals the real nature of the jivas, and when that avidya is removed by surrendering to God, the jiva only realizes that how it is dependent on the Lord, that it is the pratibimba of the Lord. Liberation according to Dvaita philosophy is the vision of the God. After getting the vision of the God, they stay with the Lord, but they are never ever identical or same with the Lord. They may be similar to the Lord. There are 5 types of fundamental differences said in Dvaita philosophy. That is, the God, that is Lord, is fundamentally different from the jivas. The Lord is fundamentally different from the jada, that is the world. The jivas are different from the jada, that is the world. And one jiva is different from the other jiva. And one object in this world is different from the other object. These are the 5 main fundamental differences given by the Dvaita philosophy. The source of knowledge according to Dvaita philosophy is, the first is the pratyaksha pramana. What they say they believe in the sense organs, knowledge of the sense organs. The second is the anumana. And the third is the shabda pramana, that is the words of the Vedas. What Sri Madhvacharya said was, the Vedas only say about the Dvaita philosophy. They cannot say anything else other than the pratyaksha pramana. That was his argument. And as I said earlier, he had a very powerful intellect and intellectual capacity, and nobody can easily win over his arguments. There are sharp differences of Dvaita philosophy with other philosophies, especially the Advaita philosophy. What Advaita philosophy says is, the jivas, that is the soul, is identical with Brahman. They are not separate. And what Visishta Dvaita philosophy says is, the jiva is identified with the Lord. But Dvaita philosophy neither accepts identical with the Lord or identified with the Lord. What they say is, the jivas are fundamentally different from the Lord. This is one of the differences of Advaita philosophy with other philosophies, as well as the Advaita philosophy mainly. The next is, if they say that what Advaita philosophy says is, if any jivas are outside the Lord, then it implies that the Lord is finite. So this is not acceptable to Advaita philosophy. Then the second same thing is, what Dvaitam says is that the bondage is real. If bondage is real, then how can there be real liberation? So this is also not acceptable to Advaita philosophy. The third is, what Dvaitam says is, the destiny of the jivas are predetermined by the Lord. The jivas has innate qualities and that was predetermined by the Lord. If so, then who will take responsibility for the mistakes and the evil, the failures of the jivas? Is it God? So it is just like evading from taking responsibility for the failures or for the wrongdoings of the jivas. So this is not acceptable to Advaita philosophy. And what Dvaita philosophy says is, if everything is illusion, then Vedas are also illusion. And what Adi Shankara's Advaitam says is, yes, of course, Vedas are illusion. Everything else is illusion other than Brahman. Brahma, Vidya, Veda, mind, intellect, Jiva, everything is an illusion other than Brahman. So these are some of the sharp differences which Dvaita philosophy has from the Advaita philosophy. Whatever the difference be, we all are dualists to a large extent. We experience the differences from us, from everything in this world. We have hierarchy for Atmas, and that's why we compare ourselves with others. Sometimes we feel better than others, sometimes we feel inferior than others. We all worship Lord so that we think that we are separate from the Lord. And like this, we are all dualists to a large extent. Advaita philosophy, from the philosophical sense, it is par excellence. Excellent philosophy. It is a highly intellectual philosophy. But the practicing philosophies of India are the devotional philosophies. The first is the Visishta Dvaita philosophy and the second is the Dvaita philosophy. So this is about the Dvaita philosophy of Sri Madhvacharya. Thank you for watching.